Hi guys, welcome back. This is Matt Chat, episode 555. Yes, 555. I thought it would be a cool guest to bring on to celebrate this numerical curiosity. Well, we've got Mr. Sandy Petersen, and I think he is the right choice, as you will no doubt agree. And I talked to him about a decade ago, I guess, and a couple years on top of that, so I thought it'd be good to have him back on. We talk here about Doom, Age of Empires, Cthulhu Wars, Hyperspace, asymmetrical mechanics, indie publishing, horror, folklore, storytelling, cult cinema, cryptids, and tabletop game creativity. Yes, it is a virtual smorgasbord of topics. So, got a lot to cover. So without further ado, here is Mr. Sandy Petersen. Bug in your system.
Let me shut the door and keep out extraneous sound. My meeting is starting, Wendy.
The media is starting. I like that. I thought I'd wear the tuxedo for you today, Sandy. I remember last time you had it on.
The what?
Like a suit on or tuxedo on.
Oh yeah, I did. Today it's a little more casual.
Well, this is kind of in between. It's not fully formal, but it kind of makes the point, I think.
Yeah, I think it's been a while since our last chat. But I talked to you last time, was I in Texas?
It sounds about right.
Yeah, I think I've moved to Utah now because my parents have been begging for me to come and take care of them. They're in their 90s and getting more and more feeble, so I moved, and I missed Utah. I missed Texas. Don't miss Utah because I'm here. But I still have my house in Texas and I visit, so I'm not.
Is Utah, is the weather similar to Texas, or is it a big
The weather's very different from Texas. It's much drier. I was in East Texas, remember, so it was plenty wet.
Oh.
And the scenery is great in Utah. That's one thing it has over Texas, the mountains and the valleys and the colors. It is not as hot in the summer, and it is dry when it's hot. It is way colder in winter right now. I think it's like 20 degrees colder than it is in Texas right now.
Oh, that's
I mean, May in Texas it's getting the early summer going, but Utah is not the same. Also, the food's way worse than Texas. Texas is like a great wonderland for food. It's the two great venues for food in the U.S. are New York City and Texas, and they're completely different types of food.
Well, hold on, Sandy. You missed one. You got to throw in Louisiana.
Well, but a lot of Texas's good food sneaks in from Louisiana, so we have a lot of that too.
That's all.
Plus, we add to that Texas-style barbecue and Tex-Mex, so we have most of Louisiana. I'm not saying Louisiana is not amazing food, because it is, but we have like 80% of what Louisiana has, plus Tex-Mex and brisket and stuff like that. So
my favorite. I'm here in Minnesota now, but my favorite restaurant.
Oh well, you're screwed then. They got nothing there.
Texas Roadhouse. I was going to say though.
Okay, just so you know, Texas Roadhouse is like not from Texas.
It's not. Oh, come on.
It's from Kentucky or something.
Texas Roadhouse.
Everyone knows Texas is great, so they named it Texas Roadhouse, but it is not from Texas.
Oh.
If you want real Texas cuisine, there's Whataburger and Waffle House and Buc-ee's, but you probably can't get those outside.
I just brought this up so you can see. It's been 12 years. I don't know if you can see that. Is that showing up on
12 years? Yeah, I see it. 12 years since my last talk. Wow.
It looks like
glad to be back.
Texas themed bow tie there.
I guess I've done it 3 times.
Well, I just split them up into 3. Back then, I was splitting them up
3 videos. Okay, well, we're long overdue.
Yeah, it's been a while. I like your background there. All sorts of fun stuff going on. Ensemble Studios. What you got over there? Cthulhu. Some nice display cases. Looks like now. See, you did the smart thing. with the panels in front of it to keep all the dust off your stuff.
Yes, well, these bookcases are from like the 1930s or 1920s. They used to
What?
belong to my grandpa, probably
Oh,
belonged to my great grandpa at one time. And they have these doors that open up like this.
oh my God, I need that.
Yeah, and they smell like antiques too. I mean, I don't know if they're particularly valuable because they weren't made to be like all fancy. They're just like that's how bookshelves were made then. But I remember going to my grandpa's house and going through the old books and trying to see the stuff that was cool. One of my very favorite books that he had, which I managed to find a copy of, was called Heroes of the Dark Continent. It's about this thick, printed in like 1880 or something.
Heroes of the
And it
Dark.
was these beautiful um, etchings. It was stories of basically Europeans, mostly British, who went to Africa and were eaten by water buffalo and stuff. There's a lengthy section about the ongoing, decades-long war between the British and the Arab slavers. That the Arab slavers would go into the interior and take blacks back up to black slaves back up to Arabia, and something like 80, 90% of them would die on the way. And then you had the whites come in, and by this time it was no longer white slavers, but originally for a while it was Arabs in the interior, whites from the outside, and the natives were just like Africans were like were trapped between these forces. But by the time the British Victorian colonizers were coming in, they were no longer taking slaves. I mean, you could argue they're kind of enslaving the guys in place, but at least they're letting them stay in their villages. And so there was this long war, and there was by no means a guarantee the Europeans would win. So there's a lot of action of that. It's very exciting stuff it's completely unpolitically correct today
And
because
what did you say the name of that book was?
Heroes of the Dark Continent.
Heroes of the Dark Continent. I might.
It's available on
It's
various
like
sites.
1800s or something, right?
Yeah, 1880. It's really, and the illustrations are just amazeballs. Um,
Oh, the complete history. This can't be it on Amazon.
could
Plus
be
a new edition, it says. Even the J.W. Buell.
1889. That's when it was. Let me look at the Amazon.
That I got it.
That's it. The red cover is the original color. I got a second edition one for myself, which is a gray cover. Yeah,
Yeah, it's got some of the
I think
pictures.
there's one image. Yeah, yeah. Look at that. Well, that's not. That's like there's better images than that. Yeah, look at some of the pictures. It's really incredible. Aren't those wonderful?
Wow, this is like the old what do they call it? The wood cuttings or wood cuts?
Yeah, yeah, I know. They're just fabulously done. Imagine the labor that went into that, you know.
Every time I talk to you, I find all this stuff I want to add to my book
Yeah.
collection.
And they never talk down about the natives in it. It's just like I mean, the natives obviously had to be rescued by the white man because that's 1889.
Oh,
But it doesn't have them be like bad guys or good guys. They're just like I mean, there's bad guys among them, but they're good guys too. They're very angry. The Arabs are the main bad guys.
yeah,
But
there's a lot
it's
of
full of
this.
things. And there's one image that shows um, Sir Roger Atwood's adventure with a buffalo, and it shows this huge buffalo and he's getting thrown up into the air from out. I say that's not a very fun adventure, to get hit horned by a Cape buffalo and thrown into the air. But whatever. Anyway, there now you know about a cool book. And uh, one thing connected to this is I don't know if you ever read Lovecraft's story, The Picture in the House.
Oh, I think I've pretty much read all of his stuff at some
Okay, well,
point.
that's the one where he goes to the house to get out of the rain and he finds this copy of this old book about the Congo, and there's a woodcut of a cannibal butcher
It's not
shop.
like the old man is there in the
The old man
house.
comes down and turns out that he's been eating people and living a long time. Yeah, that's the one. Um, but in fact, historically, though the guy that wrote that original book, it was a real book, Regnum Congo by Pigafetta. In actual fact, it seems that cannibalism was not an African thing, hardly like at all. I mean, it existed in South America and in the Southeast Seas, but not Africa. They didn't eat people, except in the 20th century when the Mau Mau and the leopard men appeared. They ate people, but they were like evil political secret societies.
Leopard. Wow, good God, man. Yeah,
Fun fact. Africans always get blamed for being cannibals. They weren't. Samoans were cannibals.
Yeah, last time I was reading Lovecraft, I had a Kindle version of it.
Oh, cool.
I could
Well,
like look up.
he's on Kindle.
I was looking up all because, like you say, he'll throw out a book or another author. And 9 times out of 10, that's an actual author you can go and read. It's not
Yes.
fiction.
Yeah.
Some of it's fictionalized, I guess, but yeah, I found a bunch of others.
Well, I looked up everything I could about the picture in the house, the Regnum Congo thing, and it's all exactly like he describes it. Pigafetta wrote this book in like 1690 or something, and they know so little about the Congo that the woodcutter drew the Africans looking like white people. Um, and then like he said, I guess they're cannibals, and he has it like a butcher shop with cuts of meat hanging up and stuff. It is this crazy thing. It doesn't.
I remember I got curious enough. He kept bringing up Fraser,
Yeah,
the golden
the Golden Bough.
golden bow. Yeah, that's a big monster of a book.
It is a big monster of a book.
It is incredible.
Lovecraft is the idea that the Golden Bough tries to connect legends across the world, which of course is what Lovecraft's whole point in the Call of Cthulhu is. He's connecting legends across the world.
Yeah,
Another book that is the same thing is Margaret, I think Barker's Dream Witch Cult in Western Europe, where she tries to connect all the stories of witches to say there was a giant cult over Europe, which is a very Lovecraftian idea.
Do you have a thought on it, whether that's the case or?
Well, it turns out I've read quite a bit about the witch things, and the fact is, okay, so there were actual Satanist witches, okay, but the horrible truth is that witchcraft or Satanism in the Middle Ages is, of course, like the most extreme form of heresy, right? Against the Catholic Church, because everyone was Catholic, right? So what you do is the witches don't just appear randomly anywhere. They appear in places where there's already heretics and heresies. And the more heresies there are and the more heretics, then that's where you start getting the witches who are genuinely malign and would do bad things. They'd kidnap babies and kill them, this kind of thing, right? They weren't Wiccans, okay? They were guys rebelling against the church. But here's the horrible truth. The places that had the most organization and the most authority and the most cops and stuff, they didn't have witch cults, right? Because they were all suppressed. You might have some guy that like ate meat on Friday or something. That was like the worst you got. But so the witches who were caught and condemned historically were all from these more organized places. So they're actually burning and killing people that are not real witches. Okay, and the real witches in areas like Germany and northern Italy where there wasn't as much authority, they're like thriving. No one's going after them. They can terrorize their small town. So the actual witches being burned are innocent people, and the real witches kind of did whatever they wanted. So it's the worst possible situation for the people of the Middle Ages with regard to witches. And every once in a while, some force would come in and take over an area and suddenly insert authority. And then if they started looking for heretics, they might actually find a few witches. But usually when you got conquered like that, they weren't looking for heretics. They were looking like for political enemies. So the witches had time to go underground. So it's pretty dire. And there should be more movies about it. By the way, the best movie about it is Witchfinder General, also called in England, in America, it's called The Haunted Palace, with Vincent Price.
Well, if it's got Vincent Price in it,
yeah. So what happens in it is during the English Civil War, okay, and Price plays Matthew.
That was a 1963 movie.
Yeah, it's really good. Okay, so normally that not the Haunted Palace. That's not what I'm thinking of. The
Oh wait, this is not it.
That's not it. That's the case of Charles Dexter Ward. That's the case of Dexter Ward. It's what was it called in America? He plays Matthew Hawkins. Let's see. It was called The Conqueror Worm. That's what it was called. Okay, that's what I saw it as on the drive-in theater. So what happens in this? So Vincent Price, are we doing is the talk started?
Yeah, we're going.
Okay, so Vincent Price often would just mug for the camera and do the Vincent Price thing, right? And I'm perfect, like in Dr. Phibes, most of the movies, he's just like doing the Vincent Price thing. He's not trying particularly to act, right? And that's fine. I like that. But in this one, he acts. He really puts it out there. And and it's the English Civil War. He's Matthew Hopkins, who was a real guy who went around getting power by condemning witches. And the image of the film is it seems like the whole world's gone crazy. People are running around shooting each other, and there's the witch cult and all that stuff. And the only people that seem sane in the whole world are the hero and Vincent Price, who is evil, and he's exploiting it for his own good. There is no real witches in it. He is just using the witch craze to like fill his lusts and get money and power. He's completely evil. It's really good, and you know, and he gets fixated on this guy's wife, fiance. He wants her, so he accuses her of being a witch to get her to do what he wants. And meanwhile, the guy is like off fighting the war. He can't come back and protect her. And it's you know, there's scenes of witch burnings, which I still have nightmares about as an adult because they were so creepy. Anyway, the Conqueror Worm, the Witchfinder General, and Vincent Price is really villainous. You know, it's but I mean, he's villainous a lot, but he's villainous in a non-funny way. Like when he finally gets his comeuppance, you're 100% behind it.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring him up. You know, a lot of people, I think, kind of have the view of him being kind of like a typecast, kind of, you know, the laugh and everything. But the fact is, he was a great actor.
Totally do that. You know,
I mean, I saw him in a movie called Last Man on Earth, and he's a very different.
And he acts in that.
Yeah,
so good. He's like a guy who lives in hell in that one. And his final scene is, I'm the only real man. I'm the last man. That's so good. Yeah, he's able to act. He doesn't always do it. John Wayne was the same way. Most of his movies, he doesn't act. He just does John Wayne. But in a few of them, like The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance,
yeah,
and The Shootist, you see the John Wayne strut of the stuff. I mean, still to this day, when I watch The Man Who Shot, the first time I watched it, this didn't happen because I didn't know the implications.
Jimmy Stewart in it, right?
But every time I watch The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, I now burst into tears in the opening scene where John Wayne's in the coffin. Because I remember the rest of the movie. It is like.
Is that the one with James Stewart?
With Vincent Price or
John Wayne one with the Man Who Shot Liberty.
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart. It's got Lee Marvin. It's got everyone.
Yeah, big movie. Wow, I don't know how we got off on John Wayne.
It's so realistic because, like, for example, when Lee Van Cleef's in it in a minor role.
Lee Van Cleef and Lee Marvin
and Lee Marvin. Lee Marvin's Liberty Valance, and when Lee Marvin is getting ready, he's going to go kill Jimmy Stewart. Okay, so he's liquoring up before he goes to do it because even for him, shooting the guy is not just something you just do, you know. And he's liquoring up for it, and it's kind of a Jimmy Stewart is the New West. He's a lawyer trying to bring order to the West. And John Wayne is the Old West, the dinosaur, a dying breed, and he knows it. Okay, and Vera Miles, okay, is the girl kind of between them, and she was the girl in Psycho.
It's a small world, I guess. Well, I forgot that Lee Marvin and Cleef, Van Cleef were in this. That's fantastic. Yeah. I love both.
Cleef's a pretty minor role, but you'll recognize him. It's got John Carradine. Andy Devine plays the marshal. Well, I don't know. You know, Mr. Donovan, that kind of thing. Woody Strode is in it. It's so good. You know, if you haven't seen it, it is my favorite Western of all Westerns. And every time I watch it, I like it more, you know.
I was just watching the Van Cleef and I think it's called Bankero or something like that.
I love Van Cleef unconditionally. He's not really a major character in this one, but he is in it. He's one of Lee Marvin's cutthroat buddies.
Yeah, he shows up in a lot of movies. I think he's in
Escape. He did it
from New York.
Van Cleef, like John Wayne and like Vincent Price, is they put in their time doing lesser movies in secondary roles and then finally made it big. They didn't just throw. I think a lot of modern Hollywood actors, they're thrown into the star role too early. They don't
Yeah.
really get a chance to hone their trade and
Yeah,
learn to do their stuff. You had Boris Karloff playing little roles in as gangsters and stuff until he did Frankenstein, and then he starts really doing his stuff. And the same is true of Wayne and Stewart, even Lee Marvin, you know. But
just
Lee
watch.
Marvin has the body language down so good in this. Like he's going to pull his gun, instead of just pulling, he puts it around like this. He pulls his gun backwards because he's like everything about him is twisted and evil. He's
I
very.
never want to watch it again.
So Lee Marvin, one of my best Hollywood action stars. I think my favorite story about him is that they're talking about, hey, well, you got your star on the Hall of Fame, and he goes, yeah, I went by it the other day and a dog had shit on it. It says that's fame, baby. So
There's Lee Marvin. He would have made a mean Nolan Bushnell.
oh yeah,
Lee Van.
Lee Marvin is just. I mean, there's no one like him.
Hey, look at this guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to run into him in a dark alley.
No. Well, you've seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, right?
Of course. Come on.
Yeah, he's so good in that. I showed that to my 14-year-old granddaughter a couple months ago. She's been watching scary movies, and I said, let's watch a classic too. So we watched Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and she had just loved it. She was singing along with the theme music by Enrico Morricone. And then she's like, the fact that none of that the main character she loved was Tuco, of course, the Eli Wallach character. But she loved the way the three characters that are kind of orbiting each other, interacting, allying, and breaking up. So good.
He's in for a few dollars more too, I think.
Yes, that's the one where he teams up with Clint Eastwood to go hunt this bad guy.
Yeah, these are just great movies.
Yeah, they really are. Well, Enrico Morricone, the composer of that amazing music for Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You probably know this, but he also did the music for The Thing.
I didn't. Well, The Thing, that brings us all the way back.
Which is why it's so memorable when you get that thump, 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 thump. That's Enrico Morricone. That's the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly guy,
The Thing is based on Lovecraft, am I right?
Well, the Thing is very Lovecraftian movie. It's based on a story by John Campbell called Who Goes There from like the early 50s.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But I would say it's pretty Lovecraftian. Even the original movie version of it, The Thing from Another World in the 50s by Howard Hawks, that one he's not a shapeshifter. He's a plant. But he's actually still a real threat to the Earth because they find out that he breeds by seeds, and by the time, and like in just a couple weeks, he's got literally hundreds of seedlings of himself sprouting that all live by feeding on human blood. So he's a threat to the world, the same as the Thing in Carpenter's version, but of course they didn't have the special effects that they do now, and
kind of a body snatcher.
Yeah. But no, he's not a body. No, he's not. No, he's not a body snatcher at all. He just hangs you upside down and drains your blood into his where he's growing the plants, the seeds. Kills you with a punch. And if you shoot him, it doesn't do anything because he's solid clear through like a carrot or a tree. So there's not any organs to shoot.
I should be taking notes. I
showed that movie to my 8-year-old granddaughter, and I said, "Is this too scary for you, Zariah?" And she said, "This is interesting." She really liked it. She liked it so much that last week I showed her the original Blob from the '60s, and she loved that. So,
Yeah, it's funny the stuff that gives you nightmares. I remember one that I watched as a kid. It was like Day of the Triffids or something like that.
That really scared me.
Good God, I don't know. I couldn't sleep for days after that.
Oh, I know. So a couple days after I saw Day of the Triffids, I'm in my grandpa's front room. We were staying at his house, and I didn't have a bed, so I was sleeping on the couch. And there's these big picture windows, and across the street there's these trees I could vaguely see blowing in the wind with these weird tufted branch tops. So it was pretty clear to me that these trees were Triffids. And so I basically spent all night long keeping an eye on the trees for if they uprooted themselves. But yeah, I was so scared in Day of the Triffids, I literally tried to hide behind the seat I was sitting in the theater.
Oh, classic.
This also happened to me in the movie Planet of the Vampires, which I really love. It's one of the most Lovecraftian, great horror movies of all time. Planet. I know it sounds terrible. Planet of the Vampires. There's not actually vampires. There's parasites though. Alien parasites.
Time of the Vampires.
Planet of the Vampires.
Planet of the Vampires.
Planet of the Vampires. I won't defend the title. I think it's Operation Terror in Italian. So good. Look at some of the images. Not those, but look at the image. Look at scenes from it.
Let's see. How do I get to that?
Well, I would go to the top and look at and go back. Just click on images at the top instead of all.
Just like the actual
You
movie.
watch this.
Right.
Oh yeah, they wear these cool leather outfits too. This is what it looks like. It's like a gothic science fiction movie. The inside of the spaceship is this huge metal cathedral kind of thing. You know, it's okay. So listen to this plot. There's a spaceship going through space, and it gets a it gets a distress signal from this uninhabited rocky planet. So they land on the planet to check it out, and they find a wrecked alien spaceship with the skeletal remains of the giant crew. And they find out that it wasn't a distress signal, it was a warning to stay away from the planet. And then they find out that there's alien parasite monsters on the planet. And is that not alien? Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of as you were telling me.
Exactly alien. And Ridley Scott has said that he didn't see a Planet of the Vampires before he wrote it, but I find that kind of hard to believe because it's so similar. I mean, it's first half of Alien. The last half of Alien is from the movie It, The Terror from Beyond Space, where a monster gets aboard the spaceship and is going through it, killing the people.
Wow, so we went through like...
It's also good. Not as good as Planet of the Vampires, though.
Well, I hope everybody's taking notes on these. There's probably, I don't know how many. I hadn't even... I'm pretty sure I came across that Planet of the Vampires.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Just kind of dismissed it because the title kind of sounds like a,
It's the title is terrible. I cannot defend the title. He's got the same director, Mario Bava,
of the Amazon.
Has another movie called Kill Baby Kill, which is a terrible, terrible title. Okay,
Kill Baby Kill.
Yeah, it's an awful title, but it's super scary. It's the first movie I know to have a little girl ghost with a white bouncing ball, which has been used like 1 billion times since then. Okay, and there's this town haunted by the little girl, and is there a ghost? And eventually the hero, here's a scene from it, make you want to see Kill Baby Kill. The guy goes to this old castle inhabited by the Baroness, who's really creepy. And he's going through it, and he sees this person in front of him. So he chases after the guy, and the guy runs away, and he's going through these rooms of this huge crumbling castle with cobwebs everywhere. And you suddenly realize that he's going through the same rooms again and again. And then he finally catches up to the guy and grabs him on the shoulder and spins him around, and it's him. And then he retreats back and falls against the wall, which is a giant painting of the house, and it kind of goes black, and he wakes up, and he's outside the house in the same relationship to the house as he was to the painting.
I knew this was going to get creepy.
Kill Baby Kill. I'm telling you, the town is so haunted and creepy that it becomes effectively another character in the movie. But the director's Mario Bava. He was probably the most important horror director that ever lived, because everyone copies him. Like Tarantino copies him, Guillermo del Toro copies him, Steven Spielberg copies him. And I'm not saying that's bad. It's good that they do it. But he was like such a good director. Look up Blood and Black Lace. And you'll see a scene from Blood and Black Lace.
Blood and Black Lace.
Yeah.
I wonder if it might mention it here somewhere.
It's the very first giallo ever made. He invented the giallo, which is an Italian film category, kind of like film noir, that has been very influential. He's the first guy to do a good slasher movie. Before him, there were some bad ones by Herschel Lewis. He did the first good one called Bay of Blood or Twitch of the Death Nerve, depending on how you want to call it. He did the first movie with found footage. It's not all found footage. There's one scene of found footage. Now, there was movies before that had directors that would put a film within a film, but the film within a film always was filmed the same way as a regular movie. It looked like regular camera stuff. But Bava's found footage in Kaltiki is like this handheld camera that wobbles and turns away from the monster at the critical moment, and is like we think of found footage today. So, I mean, he invented found footage. He invented the giallo. He did the first slasher movie. He's like this incredible guy. Also, Kaltiki is my favorite blob monster of all time.
Yeah, it says something about the blob. Similar to the blob, I guess.
Well, it's before the Blob.
But it was before the, yeah, you're,
Yeah.
oh, wait, which one was,
I
oh,
think the Blob was 1960.
yeah, there's this whole world of film that I'm just kind of starting to scratch the surface
It's a
of.
super Lovecraftian blob monster because it lives in this old Mayan mine and it only activates when this comet comes by Earth and this radiation wakes it up.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's like this thing from the distant past. And then it attacks the guy and the guy gets infected by it and he goes insane and it starts killing people. It's plus there's the blob monster, which is done in a really creepy way in that what they used to film it was I think tripe. They'd be wiggling around, so it looks very organic and
That's
not like the blob in the later movies, almost like this antiseptic gelatinous thing. But his looks like it's like intestines coming after you. It's very impressive.
wow. Kaltiki. I think I just need
And I
to,
love the blob, you understand, but
I need to
Kaltiki,
do
the
a
immortal
little.
monster. Um,
Maybe we could just watch movies and just we could do commentary.
we could. I got suggestions if you haven't seen any of these. Um, Well, let's do it. Everyone's going to think I only watch old movies, so I'm going to mention some new ones that are good. Aterrados, also known as Terrified, not to be confused with Terrifier about the killer clown. And I'm not casting shade on the Terrifier movies, which I kind of like, but Terrified from Argentina is super scary. Um,
Yeah,
it,
the
it
cover of that looks
yeah, exactly. And
awesome.
there's always things happening. It's not a slow burn like at all. And the main characters in it are pretty clearly investigators from a Call of Cthulhu adventure. So that helps.
I wonder if this is on Amazon.
It is.
Wow. So, I guess I should have known. I guess I didn't know you were so into movies. I mean,
Yeah.
you have like I heard a new adjective for this, a Wikipedic knowledge.
Not only games but movies. Yes. So if you need to see a bad movie instead, I
Yeah,
can
we,
recommend the best worst movie, which is Troll 2.
oh, I think there's a riff tracks of that one.
There shouldn't be. And here's
Oh,
why.
this is brand new. No, is it? No, it's 19. Oh, there's a
Oh,
new.
it's not new.
You're talking about the 20. I guess there's a 2025 film
This is
and a
2025 Troll 2.
90s film. Says, I guess there's
I'm
a.
talking about the 1990 movie.
So this is the one.
So, but here's the thing about Troll 2, okay? So it's astonishingly bad, okay? Here's two things you need to know about it, okay? It's not a sequel to anything. So the number two is a lie.
Troll
And there's
2.
no trolls in it. So the troll is a lie.
This is worse than Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, it is. Okay. The movie is so terrible that you're going to be laughing the whole time. And then about 20 years after the movie came out, there was a documentary on it made by the guys who were in it who'd found out that Troll 2 at that time was rated the number one movie in the IMDb. And as you knew, that means, as you know how IMDb rates it, that means every other movie is higher rated. So it was the lowest movie on IMDb. And since then, I think like Baby Genius is something that's taken over, but Troll 2 was the lowest. So they go, oh, we should do something. So they put together this documentary. It's called Best Worst Movie, and it is the best film documentary I've ever seen. It's so funny. They actually have this a festival they do in Morgan, Utah, where it was filmed, where the people found out they were in the worst movie. They go, yay! And they fly in the director from yeah, this is so good, so funny, the best. Okay, and the director, every second he's on the screen is comedy gold. He comes in and he's like all proud of having. He's a super egotistical guy. He talks about, well, really there'd have been no Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings without Troll 2 going first to show you can have magic in a fun, right? That's like this kind of stuff. And he comes over and he gradually starts to realize that they're making fun of his movie. They're not celebrating his goodness, but his badness. And he goes through all the stages of grief. He like rages and bargains the whole bit. Then at the very end, he's in acceptance and he's like, well, to have made the very worst movie of all time is much like making the very best. You stand out, you know? It's like, and he does the whole thing in this Chico Marx Italian accent that is super funny. So when one of his girls goes up there and says, well, we thought the dialogue for us was really lame. We tried to suggest that they change it, but he wouldn't do it. And he goes, I've done 25 movies in America. I know how American teenagers attack. And he like, and it sounds just like that. And then it's like, it is, it is precious. So you want to see that after you see Troll 2.
To watch Troll 2 first.
Watch Troll 2 first. You're going to really dig it. And then watch Best Worst Movies. You're going to dig it even more. And then you're going to make your friends watch it because they're going to love it.
Make my wife watch it.
And the whole movie is just insane. They're vegetarian goblins, who the way they eat you is first they turn you into a plant and then they eat you like a salad, and it's just like the stupidest imaginable thing. It has the least erotic sex scene in the history of movie making, so you're going to dig that a lot. They get so hot under the collar that the popcorn pops.
Wow. Okay, I'm definitely watching that.
Troll 2. But remember, this is bad, not good. Atarados is good.
Sandy recommends this.
I don't know how we started going to the movies, but we did.
Well, I was gonna bring up this video that you posted here about American Terror because I really like this.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I was kind of proud of that series, of the American Terror series.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good
Things that were
point. There's
uniquely
so many
American.
monsters. Like, you probably heard of the one from where I grew up called the Lou Guru.
Oh yeah. Well, I have that kind of. If you look at my list of American terrors,
Yeah, is there a list somewhere?
one of them is the Navajo Wolves.
There we go.
Look up Navajo Wolves. Yeah, click on American Terrors. That's a playlist. And they're on the right. Navajo Wolves. See? It's like next to the bottom. Yeah. And I do reference Loop Gurus in this. But as you may be aware, the Loop Guru is more than just a werewolf. Like, I've read stories where the Loop Guru was like the moon or other things. It's a sorcerer that turns. And this is a unique thing about the American wolves and also the Navajo wolves, is they aren't innocent people who got bit by a werewolf and now a monster. They're evil people who are specifically accessing Satan's power, or in the case of the Navajos, Coyote's power, to turn into monsters and kill people. Right? That's what the Loop Guru is. He's not a hapless victim. And Navajo wolves, the thing about Navajo wolves is that they're believed in to this day, you know. So I talked about the story, and most Navajos have a story of they saw one, their cousin saw one, their dad saw one, or they've seen multiple ones, and they don't tell them to white people, because why, we'll just laugh at them. So they keep it to themselves. But I got to know a couple of them well enough to hear some of the stories, and they're pretty scary. I mean, it's stuff like the wolf is running along the road next to the car, which is going like 50 miles an hour, and it comes over and it like tears off the pickup truck door, and then they managed to get away because that slowed it down when the door came off. But it's like that's like clearly supernatural,
I mean, wolves are pretty scary
Yeah.
to me. I mean, you get used to seeing them in so many movies, but I remember going to some kind of show one time that had some actual wolves in it. As soon as those guys come
Wolves
out,
are so big. No one realizes how big they are. They're way bigger than a German Shepherd.
it's like a primordial, it's like an instinctual fear of these things.
They're huge. They have this massive bite. They're have you ever seen images that there's pictures online of a wolf next to a husky, and it's just good wolf and husky.
Then they bring back
look at a picture of them together, and it's really obvious what's going on here.
Oh my God, is that legitimate?
Yeah, these are legit. This is how big a wolf is. And a husky is not like a little tiny dog. Look at that
it's
thing.
big.
Yeah.
I mean, if you walk out in some dark wood somewhere and you see 4 or 5 of these come around, I mean,
yeah, and that's the thing. They cooperate. They hunt in packs.
Nightmare
material. In the 1500s, a pack of wolves during a really bad winter, a pack of wolves came into Paris and were killing people in the suburbs of Paris. So, of course, since then they have tragically killed almost all the wolves in France. But not that I approve of them eating Parisians, though. A few people from Europe being eaten by wolves isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. But
well, the reason I was bringing up those Lou Gurus is I wanted to know if there were wolves in the swamp around Louisiana. They're like,
Yeah,
no,
well, you had red wolves.
this was like the Red Wolves, but they were saying that this was like a French
Yeah,
Canadian.
the Arcadians up in Canada, they of course had actual wolves, and they had the loup-garou. And then you go down to Louisiana, and they had the red wolf back in the day, which is now pretty much extinct. Some of his genes survive inbred with dogs, and then you have the Navajos. Their wolf is the Mexican wolf, which is same species as the gray wolf, but a different subspecies.
I think there's also Red Wolf.
Yeah, it's not quite as big as the timber wolf. And like I said, there are no pure red wolves left, but there's plenty of dogs that have their genes. So
Have you heard about them bringing the Direwolf back?
yeah, I did. I was excited.
Well, I guess it's not. Is it true?
I mean, there's a lot of debunking of it. Maybe it's just a few genes, but you got to start somewhere, right? I'm actually more excited about bringing back the Tasmanian tiger.
I didn't realize this Direwolf thing was debunked.
Well, it's not totally debunked. It does have direwolf genes. It's just not like 100% direwolf genes. It's like 10% direwolf genes. So it's like they have a dog with some direwolf genes.
I mean, I didn't even know direwolves were a real thing. I thought that was just something like a fantasy monster.
They are a real thing. And of course, the fantasy messed it up because then they said, well, if there's direwolves, we have to have other kinds of dire things. So there are like dire penguins and dire squirrels and dire tyrannosaurs. So I even played off that when I was doing my games. Like this is the dire Cthulhu, I made a figure for that, and which is incredibly stupid because if you have a monster that literally whose function is to destroy the whole world, then how do you get a dire version of that? He destroys the whole world plus 10%. It's
overkill, literally.
but yeah. So dire wolves were a real thing, and they in fact were not like super closely related to modern wolves. They were a whole different lineage, but they were still canids, and but the Tasmanian tiger they're working on, so that's exciting. Hopefully, we'll get the mammoths on one of these days.
The one you had here about the bridges.
Yeah, Crybaby Bridge. You got one?
That is spooky.
I know. I was amazed to learn that I lived near a Crybaby Bridge myself, and and the thing about these things is that the Crybaby Bridge, they're all over America. There's like a dozen or more of them, and everyone that lives near it thinks it's the only Crybaby Bridge, but it's like this thing that we have. Just like the goat man, everyone thinks that their goat man is the only goat man, but they're all over the place. There's actually two goat men in the Dallas area where I lived, and that are separate and unrelated apparently. But there's one goat man whose territory covers a Crybaby Bridge, so he doesn't haunt the bridge especially, but it's And there's another goat man that does haunt a bridge, but it's not a Crybaby Bridge.
There's the goat man.
Goat man. Yeah, they're always murderous. They're not all like satyrs. I talk about that. I say the European legend of goatmen, the satyrs and fauns, they're not like these. But the American goatmen are homicidal. They carry axes and stuff, and the legends are all over the place. It's like maybe they're a scientific experiment. Maybe they're a ghost. Maybe right. So that picture there, that's from the goatman of White Rock Lake who threw a tire 80 yards, I think, into a crowd of people. He was seen by like dozens of people doing this. So, the goat man. White Rock Lake.
Eve. Yeah, I don't know. Something about these just gives me the.
Well, they're creepy, They're that's why I want to talk about
the whole theme of the video. It's like we've got these American ones. Why are we always talking about the old standard, monster?
Yeah, exactly. We finally got. We're gonna have an American horror movie, then we put like a vampire in it, or a European style werewolf. But we couldn't do in Wendigos and goatmen. Wendigos have started to get a little of late, And chupacabras mostly still only have super terrible movies. But hey, there's something we could do, and of course Bigfoot movies are, nightmarishly bad. But
I don't know if you ever saw that show called Supernatural.
Yeah.
I think the first one of those they have a Wendigo. But that's like the first time I'd ever even heard of it.
Yeah, now there's a few good films featuring Wendigos. My favorite, and here's a movie for you, Ravenous, 1999. We've got some actors you will recognize, and
Guy Pearce, Robert Carlyle, Jeffrey
yeah,
Jones.
Jeff Jones and David Arquette, huh? You know those guys? And it's pretty good. And the idea here is that is that they are, by eating people, they become Wendigos. And the Wendigos look like humans, but they're stronger and faster and meaner. And you know, there's a really good touching scene with Jeff Jones where he's talks about, I used to really like reading these books and reading Shakespeare's plays, and now all I care about is meat. And he hates his life as a Wendigo, and it's like, it's really sad. It's because Jeff Jones is also not an actor who always acts, and somebody just does Jeff Jones, but this he is doing the acting part. And Robert Carlyle is really good in it.
Ravenous. We should probably talk a little bit about games, I guess.
Let's talk about games.
We could talk about this. I got some people sending some stuff on Discord we can get to in a minute, but I'm a fan of your X stream or whatever they were calling it these days.
Oh, extreme. It makes it
I don't know.
sound.
What do you even, it's Twitter, right?
Yeah, I like calling it on Twitter too. I mean, I know it's X, but whatever.
You've got a fun post here, I thought. So I guess somebody was talking about a game called Rack.
Oh, now the Rack started the indie FPSs. I'm like, what the hell? Doom was an indie FPS. It's like,
Did they
that's
imagine
how it started.
They think Doom started off as this big commercial product or something? Or is it
Doom?
just, yeah,
No,
I mean,
it was,
I don't know. I thought everybody knew, where it came from and
we
the
didn't even publish it ourselves. We had
airware.
another publish. The guys who did Duke Nukem using our technology are the ones that published it for us because we were too small to publish our own game. We were tiny. It was 6 guys in an office. There you go. Which is the stupidest movie monster?
That kind of distracted me. You Bulls on the list.
Well, doesn't he count?
I thought he directed the films. Is he a monster in one or?
I think he is a guy in the movies and he's a monster.
Yeah, Matt Bradley Shergi.
Though I do love the fact that one internet critic, he challenged him to a boxing match and then cold cocked the guy in the match. I think more internet critics should be beat up on screen. So that's, works for me.
And my friend wrote a book about him.
Uwe Boll?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's like the movies of U Bowl.
Imagine studying him so much you can write a whole book. Isn't that terrifying thought?
No, that's Matt for you. I
And
thought
there's your starting Pokemon in Texas. Louisiana, it's probably a possum, a raccoon, and a skunk, right? Maybe an alligator.
what's that?
Well, I did a post of here's your starting Pokemon in Utah, and then
Oh,
starting Pokemon in Louisiana are probably like an alligator or possum,
oh no. Well, it could be an
maybe a
alligator, but
raccoon.
I got one for you though. A Nutra rat.
Oh, the Nutria, yeah, they're edible even. Yeah, that's probably one.
Yeah, why
I
don't
grew up
these
with
things?
muskrats, but not Nutria.
Yeah, I think they got a couple different
Oh
names.
no, I know these are a horrible pest.
These guys.
Yeah, they got to be eaten.
Look at the size. That's an ROUS right there.
Yeah, it's between a beaver and a muskrat, right?
Yeah, vicious killers.
Well, I mean they're giant rodents, so
Invasive. Yeah, these are. Wait, they're not beaver. Two ancient Greek words, rat and beaver. So I guess they're kind of like a rat beaver. Is that the
they were imported because their fur is valuable when they're raised right, but the
beaver?
ones that got loose in America have like the terrible fur, so but they are
Yeah.
edible. You can eat them. So some people will shoot them. I mean, you can eat muskrats, right? Any kind of water rodent is edible because it doesn't eat the same kind of trash and disease-ridden stuff that land rodents eat.
I don't know. Would you want to eat one of those?
I've eaten muskrat, so I don't know why nutria would be any harder. I've eaten rattlesnake, I've eaten gator, ate a bear and ate part of a bear in Finland, so I'm
Huh?
okay with that.
What did it taste like?
Bear. Well, the bear meat was shredded and highly spiced, so I'm not sure I got the full bear experience. You know.
I mean, the muskrat.
Well, the muskrat. Oh, tasted kind of like swampy rabbit. You've had rabbit.
I've had
Rabbit?
squirrel. Is it comparable to squirrel?
I haven't had squirrel, but I wouldn't be surprised. They're relatives to squirrels, but I figured the fact that they eat water plants and squirrels eat acorns has got to have some difference in what they taste like.
Hmm.
Let's talk games. What should we talk about?
Yes.
Okay, here's what's happening for me right now with games.
Let me see
So,
what they said on
I
it.
have gotten control of my own product again after a year or so in the wandering the desert, and we will soon have it up on our website being sold. I also have a complete strategy game called Hyperspace,
Hmm.
printed, well, a standard edition of it, not the Kickstarter edition, but a standard edition, um, fully printed, fully collated, shrink wrapped in boxes in China, waiting for the tariffs to get low enough so I can ship it over here. And the tariffs just got lower. They went from 145 to 30.
Wow, so
So I actually might be able to afford it. It's still going to cost me 5 digits of money to get it shipped over, but it's a lot better than 145%. So we're going to bring that over and have that for sale. And so that's the immediate things in the near future.
We talked about this game. I'm wanting to say we talked about this 10 years ago.
And so this is the full-on plastics version of the game that I promised in Kickstarter, and we're still angling our way into that. And we have different estimates, which I won't go into here because if I give an estimate, then everyone will be horrified if I don't make it. But I think we will. But it's sooner than people I think, and this is still coming. The version I have in China is a cardboard version. It doesn't have plastic figures. It has cardboard cutouts, but it's playable fully. And so the idea is that will basically get us a leg up on the ladder to earn what we need to finish doing the real hyperspace, which I still am planning to put out.
This looks great. Yeah, I know it must be super challenging when you're making a tabletop game.
Aren't these great monsters? They follow my creed, which is that I don't think there's any humanoid aliens. I think humanoid is a super unusual shape.
Yeah.
And that aliens would. Well, how many things on Earth are humanoid? One.
Like walking around on two legs and.
Well, let's talk about other things that walk on two legs. So gorillas don't walk on two legs, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're on all fours. Chimps are on. They can't. Bears can stand up. Okay, but things that walk on two legs normally are like birds and dinosaurs.
All right.
But they do it with a horizontal spine, the legs going down. They're like balanced like a teeter-totter. And we have this weird, crazy-ass thing where we're teetering on top of our legs and we fall down all the time, right? Nothing does that except for us and our immediate ancestors. So we're super weird in what we do. We have other features. We're the only animal on Earth that is able to throw things effectively. I mean, gorillas and chimps can lob poop at you and stuff, but if they do an overhand throw, they fall down because they aren't designed for it. But we can throw a spear. We can throw a rock, which is like, and of course, throwing spears is what makes us the king of the jungle. We're really good at that kind of thing. And so we have all these weird features. And so one of my hobby horses in games is I don't think humans are the vanilla race. That's the average one that everything else is variants of. Usually in games they give, if there's humans, they get in the ability like, oh, they have a democracy, or they're good at diplomacy or something boring, right? I think humans are super odd outliers. And if you were to take the average intelligent Earth animal and make it, if there's no humans, he picks up an Earth to be intelligent, you'd probably pick something like a raccoon or an octopus, right? And they don't look anything like us. Maybe a whale. But whales have trouble developing technology for obvious reasons, whereas an octopus or raccoon might be able to. But so humans are weird, and in my game Hyperspace, I have humans be weird, and my hero Lovecraft, his aliens aren't humanoid. They're bizarro world stuff. They're fungus crustaceans and conical snail things and echinoderm tentacly bits. The closest he gets to a humanoid form in his aliens is the deep ones. And they aren't aliens. They come from Earth. And I think they were designed by Cthulhu to interbreed with us and kind of keep an eye on us. So they're purposely shaped like us. And even they are that much shape. I mean, they're quadrupeds. They walk on all fours most of the time. So how humanoid is that?
So
Yeah,
really,
like this guy.
the Rocky
He's got 4
Raccoon,
arms.
Rocket Raccoon is more realistic than the.
Yes, Rocket Raccoon. Yeah, exactly. And of course these aliens aren't from Earth. So look, I love Mr. Spock unconditionally, but no way would an alien look that much like us. And then if he's half human, is hilarious. It'd be easier for an alien to. I mean, it'd be easier for us to breed with a carrot than for an alien to breed with us. These are the Yadath aliens, which in the story that Lovecraft has them in, they imitate. One of the things about hyperspace, just so you know, is Lovecraft. Lovecraft's monsters are mostly aliens. So I'm doing a game about alien civilizations. So why wouldn't I have like Lovecraft aliens in it? So I do. So of the 25 races I have, 5 of them are Lovecraftian. So most of them aren't, but some are. This is one that's not. This is a bird-like thing. It's riding in a floating throne there. They used to rule the galaxy, and they so that's. I have a little story about each one.
Oh wow!
So you see, that's his robes dangling down, so he looks like an aristocrat. But then there's basically I kind of based them on like the Skeksis from the Dark Crystal,
Oh yeah, those are scary too.
Yeah, but they're aristocrats and they're nasty cackling bird things, so
And when we were kids, we had this real scary stuff for kids.
We did. Now they think kids can't handle that, but so these are my aliens that are from another dimension that are seeping through into ours, so they aren't really all in our dimension yet. So they have abilities. So in his image there, you can see part of him is not yet into our dimension. There's like holes in his body, but
that's cool.
But again, he's not humanoid, so because
alive. The Daldath Planet Smasher.
These are scavenger creatures that eat planets, like anyway. All the aliens in the game are have these bizarre abilities. They all have like 3 natural bonuses. They have a unique super spaceship. They have some unique technologies and some. That's my fungi from Yuggoth. In the story, Lovecraft wrote Whispers in Darkness. That's one of their monsters. But he wrote a story called The Whisperer in Darkness, and there's these flying fungus crustaceans from outer space that come and are doing things. And they say in the story that the most advanced members of their species aren't the flying ones, but only the flying ones could get to Earth because they fly through space. So this is one of the more advanced ones that didn't make it to Earth. And if you look at the figure, you see he's got like an Aegis style anti-air gun at one side attached to him, and they're all like bio. Yeah, see the machine gun and radar dish, because they like, since they're fungus creatures, they can literally just carve them in any shape they want, and they just plug in any kind of machines. So those are one of the creatures in the game that you can be.
Oh, the claws.
Yeah, the crab-like part. Yeah, and then humans are in the game too, and they're super bizarre. And usually when someone comes into the humans and he explains to other guys what his bonuses are, they're like, "We don't like humans. You guys are bad." And they want so.
Yeah, let's see is there a human somewhere?
That you just looked at the star spawn. That's Lovecraft. That's Cthulhu species. There's the old ones.
Wow.
These are the Izoda. So there's the alien in every science fiction universe whose goal is to destroy all life. So the Izoda is my alien. That's their goal, and so they come from another galaxy. So they have to be encased in these tubes to keep them alive, glass tubes, and they have a part of them goes outside the tubes. They can do things, but the difference is that these guys are doing it because they think life is pain, so they want to kill everyone to make them have less pain. They're benign, they think, but of course everyone hates them. And so in the game, you're trying to destroy a life, and meanwhile, while you're destroying the other guys, your own civilization is starting to go extinct because of course you have to be destroyed too, and so you're getting power from destroying your own stuff, and it's this bizarre.
I love these diagrams.
Thanks. My artist did those, Kent Hamilton. We worked together to make them. But yeah,
Whoa. I got so distracted with the details of this, I
So,
forgot what you were
so,
saying
so
about
do
the
you know
game.
what? Do you know what a
This is
4X
about to
game
come out,
is?
right? Or you're in the process of
This
getting
is
this.
completely printed. My cardboard version of it ready to come out. I just need to get. It has to be shipped over, but it's all paid for. And thanks to the tariffs going down from 145 to 30, I can scrape together the money to do it. But it's the
Yeah, I think
tariffs.
you're the first person I've had on the show that's talked about those tariffs impacting your business.
Well, I understand the argument in favor of the tariffs, and I understand the argument against them, and it's hurting me a little bit, but it's not hurting me like it was. So, I mean, there's Trump's standard thing, which he does in business, where he sets forth a extreme position that nobody could handle. Okay, and then he moves back from it, so it looks like he's being generous. Okay, just a second. This is my dad calling. Yes, Dad. Hello, Dad. Yes, what is it? I owe him everything. This is my dad's 97. I owe him everything because when I was 8 years old, he was a science fiction fan from way back. He had all these pulp magazines from the 50s and 40s and 60s.
Oh,
And so when I was a kid, I got into his box of sorry, books that hadn't been put away. And one of them was a 1942 edition of Lovecraft. And that's where I first met Lovecraft. He also
wow.
bought me the first advanced game I ever played. It was a war game about the Battle of Gettysburg, and we immediately lost the rules. So all I had was the counters and the map, and it was so interesting looking. I wanted to know how to play it. That got me interested in complex games with interesting rules. So
Are you talking about this game?
yes, that's the one.
That is eerie. This is like this game has come up in like the past couple of videos.
There's newer editions of it, of course. But
Uh,
that was the game that got me doing war games, and then from war games I went to D&D, which was considered a war game at the time,
yeah,
and
Luke Hughes was
then
talking
other
about it.
genre games came out, and
Yeah, I saw some. I was just gonna say, Luke Hughes, he did a game recently called Burden of Command, and he was talking about that game a lot. I think I read somewhere where you have like 15 grandkids.
I have 18 grandkids.
You have 18 grand. Oh, we need to
18
update the
grandkids,
Wikipedia.
and some of them like playing the games,
Yeah,
and
I would hope so. You'd be like the coolest grandpa ever.
yeah, well, and yeah, they sometimes some of their. I mean, I'm not as cool as when I was a dad, because when I was a dad, my daughter's in high school. That's when I was doing Doom and Quake, so all the kids knew about it, and so my grandkids like Doom and Quake are passe for them. So some of them they're like their dad or their older brother knows about me, so they know I'm cool.
What's it like having 18 grandkids?
Oh yeah, it's pretty great. We're gonna have 10 of them over on Sunday for dinner, so.
It's
Got to
awesome.
figure out something that we can feed 18 kids with. So it's probably going to be chicken thighs and baked vegetables in the oven.
I mean, I assume there's going to be a game, like a family game night or something with
We often play the games. Not, I mean, some of the kids are like 6 years old, so they like playing games, but they're not going to play one of my complex games.
I've been in
But yeah,
Hyperspace.
last time when they came over, we played games. We pulled out. What did we play? I think we played Canvas, which is a game about making paintings. We played Mag Blast, which is a card game about spaceships blowing each other up. Speaking of spaceships, are you familiar with the concept of the 4X game?
Yeah,
Okay, so that's what hyperspace is. It's
I
the
play
it's the
Stellaris all the time.
it's a full 4X game. Okay, but you can play it in an hour and a half to 2 hours, which is unusual because usually it's like a 4X game is like Twilight Imperium. It takes 15 hours to play. But hyperspace, and it's the full 4X. Usually, the way they make a shorter version of it is they leave out some of the X's. But I don't. It's got them all. It's got exploration, experiments, extermination, the whole thing. But it's just in a shorter compartment. Because I kind of like having games that you can play in an evening and be done, and especially a multiplayer game. It seems insane to me to have a six-player game that takes 3 or 4 nights to play. Because how are you
Yeah.
going to get all six of you together to play again? Maybe in college you could have done it, or high school, but adults. You know, it's a lot
It's
harder.
hard enough just to get people together for one session.
Yeah, so I want to make sure that session you get the whole game, and that's what this is, 4x. You know, the full. And so we have high hopes for this because it's it's very asymmetrical. You have you have the art's cool. You're
What
exploring
do
the
you mean
planets.
by what do you mean by asymmetrical?
Okay, what I mean is that if you are playing the Venge, then a strategy that works for you will not work if you're playing the fungi, because your abilities and your special powers are so different.
Well, that
So
makes
you are not a
sense.
symmetrical thing. This has kind of been um my King of the Hill thing since I did Cthulhu Wars. If you're playing Cthulhu Wars and you're great Cthulhu, you are going to play the game utterly differently than if you are the Black Goat or the Crawling Chaos. And people when they start playing, they figured out pretty fast that everything about their faction is different when they're one of these other things. And so what the advantage of that for me is that if you played like 6 games of Cthulhu Wars or of Hyperspace as one faction, and then you decide to play it as another faction, everything's changed because you're looking the world through a different lens. You know, everything is new. And then even if all you do, you still play your same faction, but one of the other guys is a different faction, then you have this new experience. Um, where everything you do is different, and that gives you a more enhanced game, I think, than if you're playing. I mean, chess is a great game, but you're both the same rules. But a Cthulhu is not following the same rules as Black Goat. And the thing about Cthulhu Wars is that people feel the way they've tried it to me is like you feel like if you only get your act together and get your machine, your engine going, nothing can stop you. You're all powerful. And they're right. The problem is someone else might got their engine together before you or more effectively than you. And hyperspace is you're not necessarily as all powerful as in Cthulhu Wars, but you're using your own unique abilities to do things. And one of the features I added to hyperspace, which proved surprisingly popular, is that in addition to all your amazing powers, you have a flaw, like a weakness, a
Hmm.
handicap. And people I've found that they really like having the handicap. They own it. They're, oh yeah, I got this weird handicap. That's cool. And they play into that, and the other players do it into it. So like the Venge is like this faction of guys. They're like the crazy ex-girlfriend faction. They uh they
The
they start
crazy
out liking
ex-girlfriend fact.
you, and they start pressing their luck with you and doing more and more terrible things. And their weakness is that they never expect you to attack them the first time. So when you do, they're never ready for it, and so everyone gets to have one Pearl Harbor against them, you know, and so that's their weakness. But then they have but they can fight their friends. Like you see, go expand that again. See that second technology, talent or friendship?
When you declare
They
battle, I believe.
start out, everyone's their friend. Well, if they declare battle on one of their friends, they get to do more damage. Yay! And that doesn't break the friendship from their point of view. It's just he's my friend. He's got to take it. But if you attack them, then it breaks the friendship. Um,
That's like the baddest looking spaceship I think I've ever seen.
or you like that? That's called the hate ship.
Oh, it looks awesome.
Yeah,
They
thanks. Yeah, it's all spiky. And then they
I
have
love
one of
that.
their abilities is that if they have this grudge track. See on the right hand side, see that little track with 3 areas: start, 2, 3.
Yeah, what's that?
Okay, so they have this ability where they expect everyone to love them. So if you get some bonus in the game, like if you have to give someone else a bonus, like you have to give someone some money or a treasure or an item or any kind of thing because of a card or whatever, then if you don't give it to the Venge, then they advance on the track, on the grudge track, and either they get rewards or they can hurt you. So they're getting all these rewards if people don't care about it. And if you don't give them the rewards, then they get the Venge. So it's like this interesting feature of the ring. So people playing the Venge act like these whiny, entitled people. Says, "Why aren't you giving me the bonus?" But like, yes, you're terrible. You have a hate ship. Look at the monster. You're citizen. You're hideous. But they're like, well,
The crazy ex-girlfriends, yeah.
crazy ex-girlfriend species, yeah. And I want to say, I got attacked on Board Game Geek for calling them the crazy ex-girlfriends. Says Sandy doesn't like women. Let me say that all of my ex-girlfriends are wonderful women that I wish nothing for the best for. I never had a crazy ex-girlfriend. Okay,
Never?
but I know the trope.
Well, yeah. So how
So
long did
everyone
it take
has
to
a
learn how
unique
to
home
play?
world, They have a unique super ship. They have unique bonus abilities, and they have this unique handicap that is interesting. I used the handicap idea in my game Planet Apocalypse too. So this is the Broodmaster. So he's got the ability to control minds and like turn your and to swap bases with someone else. That's what subversion is. So he can get a base on your home world and that kind of thing. He just swaps it. And
That's wicked. Wow. How long does it take to learn how to play this?
I teach people how to play it in about 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Well, the reason is because a lot of my games have this ramped up way of playing. You don't have to know all the rules before you begin because you start out with limited abilities, okay? And so you're like, you do one of the limited things you can do, and then this unlocks some new power you have. And then you learn what that power is, and then you kind of build on that. And so you kind of learn as you grow. And that's
Scaffolding like approach.
yeah, it's I first found it on the game Civilization, actually, not the computer game, the original board game, and it was so effective that I want to always have that be in my games. But a lot of games you have to know the whole thing before you start playing, but mine you can start knowing a little bit and then figure it out. And also the games aren't super complicated. I mean they have some depth, right? But the main thing is that the complicated part that you're trying to learn to get better at the game isn't how to play the rules. It's understanding how your abilities and potentiality intersect with someone else's. You got to know how your guy plays and how his guy plays. And since he's a new player too, you're not at a disadvantage. You just have to figure it out. And so then as you play the game more and more, you learn more and more techniques. Oh, when I'm the Skith, I can do this. When I'm the Broodman, oh, I should always swap one of my home bases with someone because I don't need that home base so much and I can get someone else. You learn these tricks. And so, of course, the thing is that if you're an experienced player, you're going to beat a new player because you know that stuff, but you're not doing it because you know how to use some rules trick against them.
Right.
That which I always think is like the cheatingest way of doing it.
Man, that sounds like a great way to make a game. I mean, so many times when I'm trying to play a tabletop game, we spend the whole time trying to learn the
Trying to
game.
learn the rules. Very common in war games, especially, I think.
Well, as long as we
But
got
yeah,
this, are there some other ones you wanted to talk about?
well, there's Cthulhu Wars, which I learned, which I can teach you in about 12 minutes to play. I got that pattern down. Oh, Planet Apocalypse is been a hit in the past. So Planet Apocalypse is like the world's hardest co-op game. Um,
The world's hardest co-op game.
this is I am told this by other people. It's a very challenging co-op. People will play it like 6 or 7 or 8 times before they finally get a win, and then it has ways of ramping it up, like more difficult enemies, more difficult maps to make it to more like the final boss. So what's going on in Planet Apocalypse is it's a co-op game. It's the apocalypse. Okay, hell has risen to wipe out the earth, like every holy book ever written tells us is going to happen. And so you have this demon lord, and here you can see it's Baphomet at the end of the track. And he's slowly marching down that, like very slowly. Okay, every 4 or 5 turns he advances a step. Meanwhile, there's these demon minions that are marching down every turn, and what you have to do is stop them. And eventually you win by killing the demon lord, but if you can. But in the meantime, you are advancing your characters. Your characters like level up in essence through it. Like this is this guy, John Dark. You can see he has these 6 slots on the right-hand side, and what he's doing, he's getting these abilities and putting them on top of the slots when he buys the slot, and he gets whatever the slot says. Like the first slot says Dark Exchange. When you get that first slot at the top, you get Dark Exchange, and you get whatever the card is, the gift you bought with your courage, because you earn courage and get 2 abilities at once. Your characters are always different, but always have some things the same. But it's also, and here's the cool thing that people love, it's a tower defense game too. You leave ambushes of soldiers and volunteers behind on the map to shoot at monsters as they go by. So it's tower defense and combat and character progression, and plus you're fighting these awesome medieval looking demons. They're not Cthulhuoid at all. They're very much medieval, as you can see.
Boy.
And then it's really tough. You have to work together closely. And there's 10 maps the hardest map, which is you're literally going into the bowels of hell, Dante's hell, and the hardest demon lord, who is like the spider mastermind or Cthulhu. It is mathematically possible to win the hardest map with the hardest demon lord, but I haven't done it. I beat the hardest map, I beat the hardest demon lord, but put those guys together and you need a lot of luck. And this game, which has proven super popular, I also have a, a book, a D&D book of it. See?
Wow.
And the idea behind the D&D book is I think pretty unique, which is so Paizo did estimated how long an average role-playing campaign lasted. And they concluded the average campaign was, and we going overtime?
Oh, we're good.
Okay. The average campaign lasts 6 months. And then they graduate from college or something, and the gaming group breaks up, right? Okay. So, and I was thinking about my campaigns. I'm an older guy, we have long campaigns, but every campaign eventually ends. And so the idea behind this is, but no one has focused on that. So the idea behind Planet Apocalypse, okay, everything's listed as out of stock because we're inventorying our goods right now. None of it's actually out of stock, and it's going to be available pretty soon. Hopefully as early as Wednesday, I'm told, but I don't know. They're trying to get it up and ready to go. We'll be able to buy these things, but so it's not going to be out of stock forever. Anyway, the idea is that Planet Apocalypse, you do like hell is rising up. They've come to literally destroy your D&D world. Okay, and you're fighting the desperate action like if you've read La Morte d'Arthur or know about King Arthur saga, everything's destroyed at the end, but they die heroically. So the idea is you are dying heroically on your world to try to stop this terrible apocalypse. And the concept is that instead of just letting your world die with a whimper, say, well, I guess when I'm done playing in this world, you're giving it a Viking funeral. A huge spectacular bang at the end of the world. Now, so it's a game. It's the whole idea is you can use it to destroy your game world. You don't have to. You can just use the monsters and stuff in a regular world, or maybe your players are so good they can defeat the monsters and you can save your world. That's fine too. But it's a concept, as far as I know, that has not been done before in role playing gaming. And then you get these cool monsters anyway that you can use however you want.
I'd love to go with you. If you ever come to town, I'd love to go with you to the game shop here. You're probably like a god, amongst the board game community.
So you are in Minneapolis, or where are you?
I'm in St. Cloud, about a couple hours, about an hour and a half away.
So I am going to a convention up there sometime this year. Let's see, is it Arnicon? Arnicon is
Arnicon.
Yeah, after Dave Arneson.
Arneson, yeah. A lot of those guys are from around here.
It is in Minneapolis.
Yeah, okay, I could come down for that.
So if you go to the Arnicon 3 in October, I'll be there.
Oh, that'd be cool. You got a talk or something, I would assume?
Pardon?
You're probably giving a talk or a...
Yeah, I'm giving talks and running games and stuff. I'm one of the guests of honor. That's how I get to conventions now. The conventions call me and say, come be our guest of honor. And my fee is always the same. I say, well, if you want me as a guest, you must not only pay for me, but you must pay... Oh, they spelled my name wrong, those jerks.
Oh.
Didn't even see that. It's S-E-N on the Petersen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sore point. No one ever quite forgives you for misspelling their name. I'll deal with it. Anyway, so the fee is you have to fly my wife in too, and she gets a cool vacation. So that's always way cheaper than if I actually charge them money. So the convention likes it, I like it, and I get to go to these fun vacation spots a few times a year. Like last year I was in Spain and Germany. This year I'm going to be sadly I'm going to be in Minneapolis and in Madison, Wisconsin, and Germany. So like. They aren't always the most great places to go because conventions aren't always in they're not in Aspen, Colorado, they're in like downtown, like Columbus, Ohio. But it's still fun to go on the trip. Kids, right? And then I get to hang out with gamers, and I like gamers and consider myself to be one of them. And I've never really seen myself as like a design. I mean, I know I'm a designer. That's the only job I've had in my adult life, so I'm a designer. but I view myself more as a fan who was lucky enough to be able to design for my main job. So, but I'm a fan like the other fans. I like the same things they like. I just, like every game I do is a game I did because it's something I wanted to play and I couldn't find it.
Hmm.
So, I didn't want to play. I wanted to play Cthulhu Wars and I couldn't find it. So, for example, I really like war games. So I got started on. But I've never done a World War II game because there's so many World War II games. I don't feel the need for me to make one too. I play these other guys' games. They've done the work for me. You know, Though I do have one kind of upcoming, which is called Dinosaur
Oh,
1944.
I beat you too. Oh, I was just bringing it up. I was gonna surprise you.
Yeah, so I guess this counts as World War II, sort of, but not really. And the idea here is that when I was a kid, one of the common toys we didn't have as many toys as you have now. We didn't have video games for sure. So one of the toys you get was a big bag of army men. Okay.
Yeah.
But another toy you get is a big bag of plastic dinosaurs. So obviously they had to fight. So everyone had dinosaurs fighting army men. Okay, which is why there's so many comic
True.
books at this time that are dinosaurs and army men, I think. And so I said, I'm going to do a full game for it. So this is it. You can play it either co-op or two teams, one dinosaurs, one soldiers fighting each other. So
That's an
GIs versus
awesome
dinosaurs. How fun is
concept.
that?
I love
It
this
also
concept.
has a tower defense element.
Would a tricer what's the catch? Would a triceratops or a tank win in a fight?
Yeah. Then now you know the answer. You can find out.
Huh. Wow. So many games. I'm amazed by your oeuvre.
Well, you gotta remember that I'm one of the things that makes me unusual as a game designer is I got my start doing role-playing games like Call of Cthulhu and Ghostbusters and that kind of thing, ElfQuest. Um, and then I moved from there to computer games where I got to work on the first edition of Civilization. I wasn't one of the main guys there, but I was on it.
Mhm.
Doom, Quake, Age of Empires, and I like Call of Cthulhu has become one of the seminal role-playing games ever, right? Everyone know people that don't play it still know about it because it's right infamous. And then of course Doom was the first shooter. Age of Empires wasn't the first RTS game, but it was a really good one and it was well known and still beloved. And then I went to doing board games where I did. I actually worked on the first edition of Arkham Horror back in the day, but the vision they have Fantasy Flight puts out is very different and it's excellent. I did Cthulhu Wars, Planet Apocalypse, Hyperspace. So I've kind of made my mark in role playing and computer games and board games. And not a lot of designers have done that. And either that's because I've wandered around aimlessly from topic to topic, or because I'm unusual, and maybe that's both true. I have not yet done a card game, so.
I had somebody that sent in a question actually about Age of Empires.
Okay.
So they were wondering, is it hard to streamline? Let me back up a little bit. Oh. The Age of Empires boils down concepts of a turn-based game like Civ to a quicker real-time strategy format. Was it hard to streamline the gameplay where it didn't get too complicated for an RTS?
Well, um, what had happened is that the game Warcraft had already come out.
All right.
Okay. And it was, of course, orcs versus humans. And so we at Ensemble saw that and said, let's do that, but with historical civilizations. And so our big innovation wasn't so much the real-time play, because that was already existing from Warcraft, but to make it non-symmetrical so that the English and the Japanese and the Chinese, they all were a little bit different in what they did. That was the first one.
I don't know if this is going to show me the pictures of it.
Yeah, see all the Age of Empires. See, we started. Yeah.
I mean, who didn't have this today?
And so we always had an eye towards not making it too complicated. And I think the way we kept from being too complex is that you started small. You started with a town center and 3 villagers, and you couldn't see most of the map, and that's all you had. So you're going around, you're doing Stone Age stuff. You're like hunting deer and trying to avoid lions and wolves, and you're chopping trees and you're mining stone and you're building houses and getting up. And then eventually you get to the point where you can start to make an army. And or you're surprised when the army comes into your home it starts killing you. But again, it's that ramping up thing. You're doing fun things at the start, and then as you get better, you're doing more and more fun things, and that's the attractive part. And then we did stuff like we tried every time we do a new version of it, we did Age 1, Age 2, Age 3, and Age of Mythology and Halo Wars. Each time, whenever we'd add new features, but we try to go back in and find old features we could take out so that it would be the same. It wouldn't get too much more complicated. So like in Age 3, we took out stone, okay, and we replaced it with fame. So we wouldn't have 5 resources. We would only have food, wood, gold, and fame instead of food, wood, gold, stone, and fame. And then people complained, why isn't there stone? How do you build things without stone? And I'm like, dude, stone was never, everyone had stone. You don't have to like, no one stockpiles stone. They just like rocks are everywhere. So we thought that was like the dumbest um, resource. So we just took it out. You have to cut down trees, but stone, like you don't run out of stone. So yes, you need stone to build your house, but how about if we just leave it off the list of things you have to get because it's cheap and it's easy to get, and
I played
that
the
was our
hell out of
excuse.
this game.
That was our excuse to
This
not
is
have
so
stone.
addictive, this game. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know people. They really loved it. There's nothing like sending your hussars in there to massacre a bunch of villagers. And then, so Age of Empires 3, we wanted it to look really good. Okay.
It does.
In fact, our goal was that after it was released, that we wanted to win the award for best graphics at the Game Developers Conference, or was it E3? It might have been E3. Um, and this is never won by an RTS game for obvious reasons. It's always won by a shooter, right? We said we're going to win it. We're going to be an RTS game where you're not seeing one individual guy being shot up, and yet we're going to get the reward for best graphics. And that was our goal, and we did it. So we were very proud. Because you see the cannonballs flying through the air, buildings splintering and catching on fire, and Indians shooting fire arrows into your town, and all this spectacular stuff. And so I think we earned it, but it was we actually went in there with that goal and pulled it off. I'm very proud of that. I guess the artist should be more proud than I am, but at least I was on the team with those artists.
Yeah, I guess there's probably a lot of overlap of doing a game like that and doing a tabletop game, right? Is there
There is some overlap.
like
I mean, a computer
fundamentally
game is more
different?
complicated than any tabletop game.
Yeah.
Age of Empires had far more in-depth giant databases full of stuff. And I have to give a unit in Cthulhu Wars like 3 numbers to perfectly define it, whereas it was like 50 different things in Age of Empire for each unit. But I learned my system for balancing games from Age of Empires, which is as soon as possible you get a working version of the game up and running, and then you just playtest the bejesus out of it again and again and again, making changes in between each playtest. But as early as possible, you get it up and playtested. And the thing that gives you is that since you're playtesting it early, you're sure it's fun. And then you have an early version that's fun. Then as long as you don't lose the fun, you can just keep polishing forever.
That's
Now,
cool.
this is not the fastest way to do a game. It's much faster to do the game, build it up, then balance it right at the very end. But you don't always end up with a game that's fun or balanced that way. It's just
Yeah, I
faster.
could imagine. I mean, you spend like a year working on something and just find out it's just not fun. You
Yeah. Yeah.
it suck.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, here's an example. We were at a convention, and the guys that did one of the red alerts was up there, and me and my protege, Greg, he was not my protege now. Now he's a designer in his own right, but he was a protege then. We're sitting in the seminar, and the red alert guys are talking about how much they played their game and playtested it. And they said, you have to playtest your game a lot. And me and Greg were like, yeah, I have to place it a lot. We have to place it more than you think. And we said, yeah, we were nodding. And then he said, we have had to playtest this game for 4 whole months. And then we just burst into laughter because at that time, our game we were working on, Age 3, we'd been playtesting it for 18 months. And we didn't think we were done. So they said, I guess other companies do not do the same degree of playtesting that we do.
Oh, that probably explains a lot.
Yeah. But like when I was doing Cthulhu Wars, I slapped it together and like less than a week after I had it together, and I felt almost inspired by like heaven or something because this was the smoothest designing game I ever did. Some games come smooth, some don't. Like Terrapath, which I see you have on your background there of that game, it's almost ready to come out. But that game was very I had to push and work on that game. It was not didn't come easy, but Cthulhu Wars was easy. So I got it together, played it with my friends, and of course it was incomplete, but it had a lot of rules. And my friend comes to me And this is a friend that does not always praise my games. He's very hard nosed. So more power to him. And he said, "How long have you been working on this game?" And I didn't want to admit it had been less than a week, so I said a couple months. And he said, "It seems really polished." And I was like, "Whoa, that's not what I expected." So, but even after that, we still over a year after that, we were still testing it to get it perfect, because I had to have it be perfect.
Well, I got time, I think, for one more, if you're okay.
Sure, let's do answer questions.
This is Miko.
Hey, Miko.
My question: what are the 3 most interesting games you've played on the computer or tabletop in the recent years? 3 most interesting games,
The
I
three
guess,
most interesting games I have
whether
played.
board or computer.
Okay, so a few years ago, my son got me, of all things, Stardew Valley
Ah,
for my birthday. And given that this is a game made by a crazy guy off in the middle of nowhere, I don't even know where he's from, Concerned Ape, he goes by. It's so quirky and weird and yet compelling. It's a great job on that comfort game.
it's a very relaxing game.
Very relaxing game. Your stress melts away. Um, so there's Stardew Valley. You do have monsters you can fight, but they're not that big a problem. So Stardew Valley is one of the games I found that was very pleasant and relaxing to play. Um, let's see. Another game that I've liked quite a bit recently is Yggdrasil, Yggdrasil.
Game.
I like it mainly because it's fun to play with my grandkids. But it's not a computer game.
Oh,
It's
that's not.
it's a board game.
What did that go? Let's see, board game. Okay, I think I got it here.
Okay.
That it?
So this is a game you play the Norse gods. It's the end of the world, and the 9 worlds of the Norse mythology are all there, and you're traveling between them. You're trying to stop, Loki and Hel and the Midgard serpent and the Fenris wolf from destroying Asgard. And it's
Oh,
pretty tough. But you feel you're doing fun things all the time. The other players are commenting on what you do. I always like games where the other players are like participating with you, not just waiting for their turn, like shaking their watches and checking out. So that's why TerraPass has no turn sequence. They all move at the same time. So that's one of the games that I quite liked. And then and Yeah, it's a co-op. It's pretty fun. And I also, of all things, I quite like the game Botanicula. It is on Steam. Botanicula.
Botanica?
Botanicula.
Oh, Botanicula. Oh, okay.
So it's got a lot of humor. It's got very quirky animations and creatures and sound effects. It's just a fun little puzzle game. Not a million, not a ton of depth, but enough depth to be fun to play. Yeah, they're
Huh?
running away from the monster.
It's just like little bugs.
Yeah, you're like little bugs on this tree, and there's a bad monster that's come from outer space and is trying to eat everything. And this opening sequence is actually not in the game. You don't have that. I mean, that monster chasing them is a real monster, but it doesn't chase you everywhere like that. At least it didn't back when I played it. Maybe they added a feature.
This looks very artistic.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Wow. So maybe when you're playing games, you like something that's a little bit.
I like something that's unusual. I don't want to see the same old thing, you know. Like if I want to play a shooter, I can go back and play Doom or something or whatever the newest games are that are fun on that. But I don't need to go searching through all the shooters that are the same. When I want to play a RTS game, I can.
Well, I've heard some people say that they think that the tabletop scene, you get more variety
You
than it.
do, you do because there's less money in it, actually. So what happens is in the video game, you need millions of dollars to do the video game. So the evil guys in suits come in and start putting all these constraints on the money to make sure it's safe. Okay, so they don't let you do experimental stuff because what if the experiment fails? Gotta call it safe here. And that Hollywood does the same thing, which is why most of the movies in Hollywood are like, derivative crap. Okay, if you want to see a good movie, you have to see something independent or foreign where there's less money involved. And
All those movies we talked about at the start of this video, I'm sure any
yeah,
of them would be
and you have
better
the same thing
than
in games, where if you want to get the good games, board games have less money. And usually it's one crazy guy making the board game, so he can be as loony as he wants. And so you have games like uh, a Bonanza, which is about trading bean fields. And like, who would ever do a game about trading bean fields? Well, this one guy in Germany does. It's a super fun trading game though. And then Botanicula is done by this Amanita. They're in Eastern Europe somewhere, and they're full of comedy. And they don't have the and again they don't have the EA guys hovering over them to make sure that they don't make a mistake, so they can do wacky stuff. Yeah, there's Bonanza. Super fun trading card game.
I noticed that there's a lot of games on Steam that were originally board games or card games or
Yes.
CCGs. Is that the people approached you with like some of your games, wanting to turn them into?
Yeah, they have. They wanted to do Cthulhu Wars in particular as a video game. And because I know a lot about computer games, I give them the same result always, which is that I'm happy to do any kind of licensing deal you want. I'll make it as generous to you as want. The only rule is that any transfer of money only goes from your to me. I don't put any money into your product. That's all I ask. And so far, every case they've gotten to a certain level of completion on the game, often quite advanced. Then they say, now we need an influx of money. I say, nope, that wasn't the deal. That was the one rule I had, that I won't put money into it. But it's so close to being done. I said, well, when a video game is so close to being done, it is still an endless hole, or can be.
Yeah, that's
And one of the reasons that Ensemble Studios vanished was because although we did great games that never sold less than 3 million copies, we also were expensive to maintain. Now, of course, we always in a profit, but that profit came at the end of our development, not at the start.
Yeah, I don't know if you've played. Surely you've probably played this one. I just saw happened to see it was on sale today.
Believe it or not, I have only played a little bit of it, despite the fact I actually get royalties off it. So isn't that hilarious that I haven't played it much?
Well, it's only $3.99. I guess there's probably not a whole.
Oh,
lot.
I should get it now then. Yeah, if it's that cheap, I'll do it right in this minute while we're talking.
It's just good. I don't know. I haven't
Steam
played.
is great. See, Steam is great because it means that the giant publishers no longer have power over us, right? Because you can do your game and get it published. Like when we did Doom, we literally had to go and like get our publisher, and of course they were happy to do it for us, but we had to talk them into publishing it for us. We had to go through the ring all the bells, but now you don't have to. In the olden days, when you were doing a board game, you had to go to a publisher, Hasbro or Fantasy Flight, and to get them to publish it. Now you don't. You can go right to Kickstarter or whoever. This is the golden age of games because you can do a game without having to have some giant guy full of a bunch of people in suits and ties that have never played a game in their life judge you. You just do your game and then let the people judge you.
Not the truth.
So I think that's really good.
I just saw an interview with the Take-Two CEO, and like the first thing he said was, "Oh no, I never played these games."
Exactly.
Like, well, what are you doing running the company? How could you run a company?
Never play these games.
Like, and I guess that's just more common than anybody would think, right?
Yeah, well, remember that the whole idea behind capitalism, which I love, by the way, is that the guy that owns the cloth making factory doesn't have to be a tailor. He is just an investor, right? And he puts the money up, and then he hires tailors to run the factory for him. That's true in games. The trouble with games is that because I mean, if you're an investor, you know you can't weave a suit of clothes. Okay, you know you can't build a house. Okay, but if you're in games or movies, your opinions are just as good as anyone's. So you feel a need to horn in on what the creative guys are doing, and that's where we end up with all these sucky things. Like look at what's happened to Marvel, you know. Um, so
Or Marvel, yeah.
or Marvel, I know, right? I mean, and at one
A
time I
bunch of
thought it
old
was funny.
comics.
People were saying that at last the Star Trek and Star Wars guys can both be friends, knowing of the total destruction of their franchises. And now Marvel's having it happen to them too, right? So,
I
and
guess,
pretty soon that'll be the case with Lord of the Rings.
yeah, I was reading some old comics, like Conan comics from the 70s and 80s. And you know how Stan Lee would always have his little, like a bull pit or something like that, where he would just
Yeah.
like tell
Yes.
tales. And like, man, I would do anything to have this voice back, you
Oh,
know.
I know, because his existence really helped, you know, the games and movies. You know, the classic thing is you have some franchise, you have some driven guy like Sam Raimi does Spider-Man. He
Mm,
loves Spider-Man. He does his movies, and they're good.
I like.
Okay.
He's the one that did the Hercules show, right?
Yes. He's
Yeah.
also the guy that did the Evil Dead,
Or
so
Xena, I
that's
think.
where I
I
know him
don't
from. But
know.
or you have Tim Burton doing Batman, and he's got this vision. He's going to do Batman, and he does Batman. And or who's the guy that did the was it that did the recent Batmans with like the Dark Knight?
Like the Batman or
No, the Dark Knight
oh
in 2008. Christopher Nolan,
yeah, Nolan, yeah.
and he's bought into the Batman. So he does the original movie. You have Peter Jackson doing the original Lord of the Rings. Okay, they're bought into they have the vision and they do it, and then they leave because they don't want to be doing Batman the rest of their life. Okay, and then Hollywood says, got to keep the franchise going. So you bring in other guys, other actors. Then you get stuff like Batman and Robin with the bat nipples and the bat credit card, and okay. And part of that is what they do. They get a guy. The suits get a guy to do it, and they get someone who doesn't know anything about Batman because the suits don't care about Batman. They just want to have a movie done. So they get a guy who thinks you can only like Batman ironically, you know. And so usually it's a third or fourth movie in every series where you get the guy that comes in that's only doing it for the money, and he says, "Well, no one can really like Batman, so I'll just make it all hokey and jokey and corny, and
They
people will
totally
love that." And they don't, because of course the fans aren't the ones that wanted to have Batman be hokey. And I'm
yeah.
okay with the hokey. And Batman's a ludicrous idea, so it's fine if he's hokey, but you don't want to take a thing that's been non-hokey or hokey in a different way. Like the Tim Burton Batmans had plenty of bogus stuff, but you could tell he loved the idea of
Yeah,
Batman.
totally different
He
feel.
was pro Batman, and then Batman and Robin comes along and it's not pro Batman. It's just killing it for you.
I've always
Same
been
thing
kind of
happened with
confused by
Superman.
this because I'm a big fan. Like I like the Dark Knight, all that stuff, but I gotta admit, I really like that Adam West and
Oh, I did too. And
Art.
all my friends got mad at me for it. They're not the real Batman. I didn't care. It's hilarious. I love this. I love this.
My
Oh,
dad,
Adam
he would
West.
always be like, my
Right.
dad was
But but
against
but
it.
but you
He
have
said,
to
this is
but you
not
have to
supposed
know
to.
what you're doing. Batman and Robin like peed in the coffee and tried to give it to you as and the Batman, when you go to see the original Batman with Adam West, you know what you're getting, and you're there for that.
So you think the same thing? I think I heard you say the same thing's happening to the Lord of the Rings.
Don't you think so?
I haven't seen any of the new stuff. I rewatched the Peter Jackson movies the other day.
It's been so hard to watch a lot of the new stuff.
Horror of the
Even the Hobbit movies, which Hollywood essentially held Peter Jackson at gunpoint to do, don't have the same spirit. You know, they have their moments, but then the Rings of Power, I saw a couple episodes of that, and it was so retarded. I almost, I just like, I'd rather be watching Troll 2 than this.
what's it called? The Rings of Power?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should. I don't want to say I haven't watched it, so I really don't have an opinion. But
Well, I haven't watched it through to the end, but my friends who have watched more of it than I are also not enthralled by it.
yeah, I haven't heard very many people praise it.
No.
At least not people whose opinion.
Well, of course, my go-to movie critic is always the critical drinker because he's my hero.
Oh, the critical drinker. Yeah, I
He's
think I
very
might have
funny.
saw where he was talking about it. Not.
Yeah, but the thing is, critical drinker doesn't just sit there and make fun of movies. I mean, he does that too, but he also sends you two movies to watch. Watch this movie; it's awesome. So he's pro and con. I first encountered him when he did his comparison scene by scene of in the original Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2016 of the first power pack when they're going to use the power packs first time.
Yeah.
And in the original one, of course, it's Venkman and the other guy sitting in an elevator talking about it, and then they walk out. And then the new one is like 10 minutes of exposition and goofy humor, and it's like way less funny and less effective. And he says, this is what's wrong with 2016. It's not that there's girl Ghostbusters. No one cares that they're girls, right? We care that it's not funny and that it's overblown and they don't seem to respect the audience.
Yeah,
Not respecting the audience is a big deal. And that's where it comes. That's where I say I'm a fan, not a creator. Because I'm a fan, I respect the audience because the audience is me, right? But a lot of the movie creators, like I think that Christopher Nolan, he might see him as a creator, but he also sees himself as a fan. He clearly loves Batman. Sam Raimi loved Spider-Man. So they're fans as well as creators, but then you get the guys coming after them, and they're creators making for the great unwashed us, where they're looking down at us saying, well, we'll do something that they'll like because we know what's best because we're the mighty elite. And it's it's the reason for the French Revolution, these guys like this, so.
That's the truth. Yeah, I like I watched those original Ghostbusters movies too the other day, and there's so much magic in those.
They're so good.
There's not a dry minute in the whole thing,
There's not. It moves along, it clips right along, and you have this with other directors like Peter Jackson. He didn't start out being flung into some big multi-million-dollar franchise. He started making cheap zombie movies in New Zealand, giving it his all. He started as a fan, that could also make movies. That's what Sam Raimi was doing. Most of the directors I admire are guys that did that spent their time working in the salt mines first.
I think it's important.
Learning the business, not just being thrown into. I think that if Rachel Zegler had done more stuff before Snow White, she might not have been quite so terrible. I don't blame her for most of the movie's failings in Snow White because I think the failings are because of the guy, the script writer, the director. She didn't help with her media posts, but
I went back and watched the original Disney cartoon movie of Snow White. I think it's like 40 or 39, like really early.
It was the first full-length animated feature. It's so good.
And that, like you were saying, that respects the audience.
Really good. The dwarfs are super funny.
There's lots of dark stuff in that, scary stuff, that you'd probably say, well, that shouldn't be in a kid's movie, but no, it's fine.
Hey, Bambi's mom gets killed. I saw that as a kid, and it's pretty traumatic. But well, here's a fun fact for you to know before I go away. So so dictators hate horror movies. Okay, they always ban them. The only exception I can think of is Franco in Spain. He let them go along.
Horror movies?
Horror movies, yeah. So under the fascists in Italy, there was no horror movies. Okay, so the only horror that Italians who lived in the 30s and 40s ever got to see was actually Snow White, the scene in the forest. So a lot of Italian horror in the 50s has scenes in forests like that. It became like a standard image of Italian horror. So if you see Mario Bava's movie Black Sunday, it has that scene, because that's what they think of as horror, because all they had to go by was Disney stuff.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah, there's zero horror movies under Hitler, zero horror movies under Mussolini. In all the history of the Soviet Union, there was one horror movie, and it was kind of disguised as a fairy tale.
Why don't they like horror movies?
I have no idea. Because it's escapist. Because if you are a humorless drone that cares so much about power that you've managed to exterminate your enemies and become the giant dictator, then you don't have a kind of mind that can appreciate it. So the people that are like you, your littler minions of you, also don't appreciate it.
Huh.
There's a really good documentary you should look up called East Side Story.
East Side Story.
I'm trying to find the documentary.
It's a novel?
1997. No, it's a documentary. 1997, East Side Story.
Let's see if I
1
can.
hour, 20 minutes long.
Okay, I think I. No, this is the Wikipedia page, but they don't have the picture.
Okay.
IMDb.
Okay, so here's the deal. So it's East Germany during communism, which, as you know, East Germany was like the second harshest communist state. It was like super down on radio. So what happened? There was a guy who lived there who loved Western musicals, and he wanted to do musical comedies in East Germany. Okay, and the guy in charge of propaganda in East Germany loved this idea. Yeah, he said workers will love this. It'll give them better morale. They'll be happier. Let's do it. And so he tried to make music, and the troubles he had were so manifest because the top guy was in favor, but the underlings all would go and this guy isn't talking enough about the Soviet victory of the proletariat. This guy is slacking off work to go on a date. We can't have that. And they were constantly nitpicking. All these middle manager guys were constantly harshing on him. And sometimes he was able to go over their heads to the top guy. He'd say, no, let him do it. And he actually got a couple of these out. But it was really hard because of the humorless drones that apparently pervade totalitarian states. Maybe that's why Franco could do it. Franco's dictatorship was a dictatorship, but it wasn't actually totalitarian. He didn't have the same kind of control that Hitler or a communist do. So they were able to sneak it by. They still affected a little bit because there's a series of great werewolf movies from Franco's Spain by a guy called Paul Naschy. And the first one, he's going to have this werewolf, and they said you can't have him be a Spanish werewolf because Spanish people have to be good guys. He's got to be Polish. So the werewolf got named Waldemar Daninsky, right? But so he has a whole series of this Polish werewolf in Spanish movies, and they're actually pretty great. They're very disconcerting because the guy's makeup and stuff, he looks like a Lon Chaney werewolf, like from the Wolfman. Okay, but the movies are like super gory with blood and boobs and stuff. So it just is very off-putting to see a guy that looks like Lon Chaney from 1940 killing people and like ripping out their lungs. It's just like this crazy thing.
The Italian horror movies, and the body horror is incredible in some of those. What's the one with the zombie? Is there a zombie one where there's like this thing that goes into a lady's eye and it like?
Yes, that's by a director called Lucio Fulci, who did 4 amazingly great horror movies, and then he did about 10 not so great ones. But one of them is called Zombie in America. It's called Zombie 2 in France, in Italy, because who knows? But it's got it does have it's actually my favorite zombie movie of all time. It's super effective. You're on the island where the zombies are, and there's voodoo drums in the night, and there's also a disease or something, and it's actually pretty advanced. It's if you haven't seen, if we're able to see a movie together when I come up to October, then it's got the eyeball scene, yeah. This may not be so great to show people, but
it's something though. Zombie 2, yeah, it's Zombie Flesh Eaters. I guess there's a couple different names, but I would recommend that. I've seen that one.
Yeah, well, if you like that one, check out The Beyond by the same director.
The Beyond.
The Beyond. Also, City of the. Let's see where this. City of the Walking Dead, 1980. Also, oh wait, no, that's not it.
Yeah, that's on that. I mean, that's here on YouTube. It looks like.
City of the Living Dead, not City of the Walking Dead.
Wouldn't that just be a city? Oh wait.
Well, it's okay. So it's not a zombie movie. Zombie is a zombie movie. City of the Living Dead. There's like souls coming back from hell who like teleport around and stuff, and their signature move is to grab you by the back of the head and squeeze out your brains. So it's a terrifying movie. But
looks like they got that one here too.
Oh yeah, they're all available.
The full-length movie.
It's pretty chilling. It's the opening scene here. A priest hangs himself and opens up a gate to hell. And then the whole rest of the movie's up having to deal with the gate to hell.
Huh.
And look, is in Dunwich from Lovecraft lore. I love that.
Man, is there anything you don't know about movies?
Sure, tons of stuff. Ask me about something new. I don't know anything about that.
Gee.
I've seen one Kirsten Stewart movie
I'm
ever.
pretty sure there's film studies professors that don't have your knowledge.
The only Kirsten Stewart movie I've seen is Underwater, and I saw it because I had Lovecraftian deep ones, and I liked it. And she didn't spoil it too much because she doesn't really have to act in it. She just kind of like is looking determined, and she can handle that. So,
All right, then. It's been a blast. We've been a little bit over.
Okay.
That's all right.
okay, well, keep an eye on Arnicon. Maybe we can hang out.
Yeah, let's
And,
do it.
I'll be seeing you around.
Yeah, thanks again. It's been
You
fun.
bet. Always fun.
And that's all for this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Should be back next week. Excuse me here. Should be back next week with, we'll see if we got a new guest. Probably going to have Neil Halford on. He's got a new book out about might and magic. I think he's doing it on the Heroes series, actually. We'll double check on that. Pretty sure it's Heroes of Might and Magic series. But I'm sure he'll have a lot of stuff about might and magic in there too, because how could you write a book on that without covering it? Anyway, you got the idea. So if you got some questions for Neil, shoot those into the comments. But should be a good chat. Really a big fan of Neil's work. All right, as always, I want to thank you very, very much for your support of the show, keeping people like Sandy coming on to tell their stories and record all this for posterity. Hey, it's fun stuff, and we're doing our part to preserve the video game legacy that we'll leave behind, hopefully, for future archaeologists or anthropologists, I suppose is the correct word for that. But none of this would be possible without you. Yes, people like you who take a few minutes to go to that handy little Patreon link in the comments because they really want to be not just an ordinary person. That's boring. Nobody wants that. No, you want to be special. You want to be a RATRON. Oh, yeah. That's where it's at. All you got to do is just click on that link, take a couple minutes, become a RATRON, couple bucks a month. You'll never miss it. But boy, will it make a difference around here in the old Mad Cave. So take a couple minutes and set that up. You get a lot more out of the show that way, including an awesome Discord channel. Speaking of which, we have some news coming from that said Discord channel. But anyway, whatever you do to support the show, if it's financially as a RATRON or just liking, commenting, telling other people about it, retweeting it, whatever it is you do, we appreciate it. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. All right, what about that news from the Mad Cave? You almost said nudes from the Mad Cave. You don't want the nudes. No. I think I might set up a Patreon for people so I would never show that part of the show. Probably make more money. Okay, anyway, let's see what we got here. Punny writes in a couple items related to... what is this? Go away. Why does this thing think I want to edit the news? I just want to read the news. Yes, okay. Owlcat Games, the studio behind Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, has announced their next project, Warhammer 40k Dark Heresy, a party-based, story-driven CRPG. What in hell happened here? Set in the grim-dark Warhammer 40k universe, the game emphasizes deep investigations, tactical turn-based combat, morally complex decision-making. Players lead a diverse warband, including loyalists and even Xenos, mercenaries, each with unique perspectives and fully voiced dialogue. Delve deeply into the inner workings of the Inquisition. Now, I wouldn't have expected that. Some of you guys get that. Okay. So they don't have a release date on this yet. I'm sorry, that kind of got jumbled. My notes feature here is going berserk. Okay, this next item, also from Punny. Let's see. Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader Season Pass 2 is out, featuring 2 major DLC expansions and a cosmetics pack. Yay, cosmetics! What are we talking? Lipstick, some eyeliner, a little eye cream, mascara, you know. I think I should do a little eyeliner. You know, would that do something for you? Oh, it's not that kind of cosmetic pack. Oh. Well, anyway, this one includes the Infinite Museum, whatever the hell that is. Takes players into Trazen the Infinite's vault, while Processional of the Damned explores a surreal graveyard of ancient starships. Oh, that sounds cool. I like the sound of that. So each one of these expansions adds around 15 hours of new content. You know, I might check these out. I like the Rogue Trader game. You know, I did a match chat on that when it first came out. I had a good time. You know, it's not my favorite universe by any means, but, you know, it's different. Some variety. It was a well-done game, I thought. So might check those out. Sounds cool. Next up, Tired Gaming Dad writes in about a game called Shrouded Aspect, an upcoming turn-based tactical RPG from the indie studio Gilligan Games. No, Gilligan Games. You know, Gilligan Games might be kind of interesting. Let's see. Set in a medieval Celtic fantasy world, players lead a party of warriors, including the enigmatic Betha, on a quest to halt a deadly plague and confront Despater, the god of death. 32 branching scenarios, permadeath, and strategic combat that emphasizes terrain. So that could be pretty cool. Certainly looks neat. And then finally, just briefly, Miko writes in about that game I was talking about last time, The Taint. Sorry, no, it's not the right title. Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. So this game, basically the only news is it's now out. So you can go check it out for $44.99. See, do I have anything else here? So it looks like the critics, or the comments, I guess, the reviews, look pretty good, mostly praiseworthy. Although some people are noting some technical difficulties and performance inconsistencies, which of course is not unusual for a brand new release. So I always say, if that kind of stuff really bugs you, no pun intended, you could always wait a few weeks or wait a few months for it to go on sale if you're like me and you have a huge backlog of games you haven't even been able to install yet. We're like inundated with great games lately. You know, is that right to complain about? I feel kind of weird complaining about too many good games, so I won't. But I need more time. All right, here's a quotation. And since Sandy and I were chatting all about horror and Vincent Price and all these other people, I was looking for quotes from Vincent. He's one of my favorite actors, as I told Sandy. And I found a good one that goes something like this. I can't do his voice, unfortunately, but you'll get the idea. There comes a time in life when you know what you like and have to make up your mind to like what you know. Very deep man, that Vincent Price. So ponder on that, and I'll see you guys next time.
Somewhere on the seas, there's a little banana boat without a crew. That is, without a human crew.